Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you are new. I am the stepson of Krypton,
And I am Mantis.
and today we are discussing The Penguin, the new HBO Max, whatever you want to call it, series starring Colin Farrell. One episode in so far. I'm excited to talk about this one. Mantis, are you?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, then we will not waste any more time. Let's get on into the episode. All right, guys. So we've got our first episode of the Penguin series, and needless to say, Rotten Tomatoes is, I think, agreeing with how we feel on it, or at least how I feel. I can only speak for myself. So far, after one episode, the series is about the highest thing that we've seen come out of DC in quite a while, at a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Beat out Wonder Woman and Peacemaker, which held the top spot at 93%. Um, Interestingly enough, quick fun fact though, it is not the DC property's highest series. I think Doom Patrol ended up with like a 98% by the time it did its series completion. So great job there. However, Mantis, I'm very curious on your thoughts on the first episode of The Penguin.
Yeah, I know you'd asked me before we started recording if I could sum up my thoughts on it because we didn't want to talk about it before we were recording because we hadn't talked about this yet before we're recording. So, and you know me, like I don't like to give excellent or amazing reviews or ratings or whatever to movies or shows just because I think there's no room for mobility there except for down. However, I will say this show, and again, take this with a grain of salt because there's only one episode out now. But if I had to grade this one episode, it was excellent. It was engaging. There were like times where it was funny, and just as the comedic relief because it's really a drama, and it was the suspense they did a really good job of building suspense through various things in the episode because there were times where like I couldn't sit down in my seat. I was like standing behind my seat watching it on my screen because I was watching it on the computer, and I was like I couldn't sit down. I was standing like oh gosh, are they going to find out this? Is like what's going to happen here? Like it had me on. It didn't have me on the edge of my seat. I was actually out of my seat, behind my seat, standing, pacing almost. So it was great. It was a great first episode.
So, what's funny about that is, Mantis and I were discussing about, getting ready to watch the episode. We were watching it separately. I'm working on, I got 3 screens here. So I'm working and I'm watching. I hadn't seen the newest season of Billions yet. So I was watching it. And I told Mantis, I said, I'm going to watch Penguin after I finish this season. But then I realized we were getting closer and closer to the time of having to record this episode. So I was like, I'm going to go ahead and watch it. Well, I hadn't seen season 7 of Billions yet, but I have it on one screen and I was still doing work on the other ones. As soon as I put the Penguin on, I stopped working and I was only watching that episode. And I couldn't focus. I was like, dude, I'm hooked. I'm in there. Because I love like those crime dramas, and it really to me had this like 1930s Al Capone style vibe to it. Very old gangster style. I love those. That's my favorite.
Yeah, the voice and Colin Farrell, you said it too. Like if you didn't know that was him, I don't know how you like. If it didn't say starring Colin Farrell, I don't know how you'd be able to pick out who's acting as Oswald there. The facial prosthetics is good. His voice, because like he sounds like a mob guy. I don't want to call him a boss. I mean, he does sound like a boss too. Like he sounds more like a boss than the actual Falcone leaders of their house. Like he sounds like he's straight from the hood. And he even says that he's like, there's a line that says they forgot where they came from, me and you, because he's talking to Maroney at this point, me and you, we came from the streets. I know how it is still down there. I'm in it. And his voice acting as that character is it's so good. When he's in, mob mode, he's got that Brooklyn New York accent down real well. And yeah, it he does a great job as Oswald. Same, and the best thing about this show is and I think we mentioned this when we talked about it in a previous video when it was announced or that they were going forward with it, that it continues right after the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, because obviously Colin Farrell was in that movie as Oswald as well. He plays. You get to see that character actually developed in this first episode a little bit. You get to see a little backstory about what happened with Oswald a little bit. And man, does he stretch his legs a little bit and kind of start going, you know.
To be fair, now, guys, I'm gonna put an alert. We kind of forgot to, because we've been used to talking about either just news or things. We haven't really talked about a show that we've both watched in a little bit. It's been quite a few episodes,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I will put in the beginning, spoiler alert: if you have not seen the show, you already fucked, because we just talked about a lot of it. But if you haven't seen the show, I would definitely click off this video by now if you haven't already. But Mensa said stretching legs. He stretches that weird toe and foot a little bit. But,
oh god, yeah.
But I love that. Like, he even has the walk, because he has that kind of waddle, but you realize it's because of the foot. Yeah, it looks like the Penguin. However, if you remember back in Batman Returns when Danny DeVito played him, they really tried to play him off as partial penguin, right? Like, he was kind of penguin-esque, and he had that waddle like a penguin, where here they give it to him as that kind of like gimpy, like penguin-esque look, but then you realize it's the messed up foot. I love that, right? Because it brings this sense of realism without getting too like, oh, he's part penguin, like he's got webbed feet and stuff. It doesn't go that crazy. It just shows a mangled foot. So I love the way they do that. I love showing him as a genius, like mid-level boss. I thought that was just, we had talked about before about doing either anti-hero or following a bad guy, right? And how awesome that would be to have a good show that shows the bad guy where he is bad, but you still root for him. And I feel like right now that's kind of the thing, is you're like, dude, like you feel for him, you like where he's going, so you are rooting for, because of the show of bad guys, right? You got Maroni in them, you got the Falcons, and you've got him. They're all bad. It's just different levels of bad, and you side with Oswald, right? And then he's got Vic. He's got the new kid that he just picked up, which I thought that whole thing was awesome. Little annoyed he had to shoot the Maserati, but
yeah, there's this. Scene again at the beginning. I'm not going to spoil anything. We haven't really spoiled anything. I will say we've. I mean, knowing what characters there, I feel like doesn't spoil it. But you're right. Like, there are scenes where you want to feel bad for him, especially. Well, there's certain scenes. Now, I really don't want to spoil it because it's good. But there's a line where he crosses over into becoming where you feel sorry for him. And there's an element that they bring that both crime families have, like, Al Capone, like you were saying, like, they're very Italian and they're very family oriented. Let's just put it that way, right? You don't fuck with the family, right? So, like, there's, you find out he's trying to hide some of this stuff from his mom, and he's trying to be a good son to her, right? And then it's weird, because then he kind of tells her what he did, and you're like, oh, maybe she's just as fucking bad as he is. Like, oh, sorry, I was feeling bad. Now I kind of see where you get it from. So
let me ask you a question. To you, because again, guys, he's trying his best not to spoil. I don't care. You shouldn't be watching this episode if you haven't seen it yet, right? You don't come here for a discussion on an episode if you haven't seen the episode. Go watch it. It's like an hour and 20 minutes. It was a long episode. But does his mom kind of not give off granny goodness vibes? Because we just did a video on Darkseid's court, like, because you think she's sweet and innocent, and then all of a sudden she's like, "You're not a pussy, are you?" And you're like, "Okay, mom, damn."
Yeah, and part of me thinks it's due to that dementia she has, because there's a little moment where Oswald finds her pills in the bathtub, and she's like, "Oh, the boys were in there playing," and he looks at her like, "Mom, I'm fucking almost 40." Like, what? He doesn't say this, but they both look at her like, "What are you talking about? Like, I'm not a kid." Like, so part of me thinks maybe she's used to be that way, and then like those moments, like she comes back to being that bitch, you know, like you're gonna get what you want. You can't let anyone walk over you. All this stuff, right? And you know, there's such a great. I'm gonna move forward here and towards the end of this episode, but the actress that plays, and I'm
I think
blanking
it's
on
like
her name.
Christine Milioti or something like that. I probably butchered her last name. She was in The Wolf of Wall Street, and she was in How I Met Your Mother in season 9 as Ted's future wife. She's amazing. Uh, she
Yes,
has crazy eyes.
I was just about to say she's because she even said, "Do you think I'm crazy?" Like,
She's got the crazy eyes. Dude, the eyes, they're crazy.
yeah,
I'm like,
like
yes.
you're crazy. Yeah, you're fucking crazy. Like she plays it well. Oswald can read her, see right through her, plays her perfectly, and uses this is what me thinks like he's smarter than you think he is, and and he plays stupid. He even tells Vic when he's going in to talk to the heads of the Falcone family that, you know, he's like, I'm just going to play like I'm dumb and let them feel big, and then I'm going to go do what like he's not stupid. He's very smart. He knows how to manipulate people. And whether or not, you know, he was going to actually kill Vic or not, I don't think he would have batted twice to it. I don't think he wanted to kill Vic there at the beginning before he kind of took him on. I think he really needed someone, and he didn't want to kill him, so he just made it seem like he was going to kill him, to kind of get his posse started, you know.
I think he saw a little bit of himself at that age in Vic, doing what he had to, stealing rims and things like that. He didn't want to, but then he's like, hey, you know, just like him, you know, and maybe that was his mom that encouraged him. Don't think small time. Don't be small time. Go after what you want. So I think he kind of saw like a younger version of him that he could maybe mold to, you know, do that, become the next, you know, take over for him eventually, be, you know, his sidekick and all of that. So that was interesting to see. Like, again, it's awesome seeing that relationship build, but then you're also like, well, he is dragging this kid into a life of crime, and, you know, like,
yeah,
he
pretty much forcing him
murder
to.
somebody. Yeah, you know, but the kid came through for him. You know, you had to expect something was going to happen, right? And it was cool the way they did that, and the way he you know, he's playing chess, everybody else is playing Chinese checkers.
Yeah. I'll say this to kind of finish up. I can't wait for episode 2. I'm actually pissed that they didn't release this out either in one long go, because I asked you, I was like, normally they release, you know, several at a time, or the whole series at once, but they didn't. And I can see why. One is the first episode is pretty long. It's like a double. But also, like, now I want more. Like, I'm like, he can't eat that penguin.
I'm gonna tell you something about me, Joe Rogan, that you might not know. I smoke rocks.
Like, I'm just like, I want to see what happens next, man. Like, it's so good. It's very good.
So, you know, and this is kind of my final thoughts on this. You know, obviously, you know, I know there are people who are fans or, you know, subscribers to the channel that watch our content that are older than us, right? But we're, you know, I'm in my 40s now. Mantis is close. You know, we grew up in the time of television when you had to wait a week to get your next episode, and it was annoying and stressful, and you're like, I want to know what happens. And then we got hooked on this streaming where everything comes out and everything's available immediately, and now we're kind of going back. But you know what, I kind of like it. It's nice having that to look forward to. Like, dude, I can't wait till Sunday the next episode comes out, instead of, oh, I binge watched it all in a day and now I'm done for 2 years. You know, like, it is kind of nice to have that where I'm like, dude, this coming Sunday, man, I plan to, well, I think it comes out at 9. I will probably be asleep or getting ready to go. I got to go to work. So I'll catch it Monday at some point.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought it was a great first episode. I'm trusting and believing that the series is going to continue. Colin Farrell is just amazing. Just the different roles he can play. Again, he gets so much you wouldn't even know that was Colin Farrell. You're like, dude, are you serious? Are you sure? I think Christine Milioti, however you say her name there, I think she's great.
I agree.
Just beautiful eyes, but they are very expressive. They just, unfortunately, in this series are going towards the crazy route. So, but it works for the character. I'm excited, just like Mantis. I can't wait to see what happens next. However, let us know down in the comments, what did you think about the series? Are you excited for it? Did you love the first episode? Gotten great reviews. I will say this is kind of a little tidbit. Kind of shows you what, like, if you want to do a good character versus, let's compare it. I actually just threw this up to Mantis before we started recording. How did you feel about this Penguin versus Oswalda in the new Batman animated series? One is a crime mid-level boss that you kind of feel for, and you're thinking, oh, hey, he's doing all this, he's working smart. The other's dancing on tables. So you kind of get the difference if you have a well-written character that you thought out about. Let us know. How did you feel about first episode of Penguin?
And I have a request too. If there are any Easter eggs in this episode, list those below as well. It was hard for me to kind of look for those because I was just so engrossed in what was going on. So
when you're dealing with a series like this, like I watched it and I'm like, okay, I'm so focused. So what I'll do is when I watch it the second time, then I'll be able to look for Easter eggs and things like that. Because I know a lot of people who do reviews and breakdowns, like the big channels, they will literally watch it, but they're stopping every 5 seconds and looking around. And and they got teams of people looking for that shit. I like to, and this is why another part of the reason why we don't do reactions anymore, other than YouTube being a dick about things and copyright and all that bullshit. We can't bring out a decent reaction without them banning the video, is that when we watch it for the first time, we want to be engrossed, right? I don't want to watch it with you guys and just not say anything because I'm paying attention, and I don't want to talk through the whole fucking episode. So that's why we don't do reactions anymore. Sorry if you're a big reaction fan person. I know some people will click on this hoping it was a reaction to it. Go fucking watch it yourself, and then you can come back here and we can talk about it. So
yeah, because all I'll say is the people that are doing reaction channels and talking and saying and actually making videos on it, and you're like, oh my gosh, they're talking just how I like. I'm like, I'll tell you right now, if I was watching a movie with any of those people, I would end up probably leaving the theater because
shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I like you said, like I don't know how they do that. Maybe they can, but like I can't. I want to watch. Like I don't want to say anything, and I don't want anyone else to be talking. Like I'm trying to enjoy it. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox and stop yelling at clouds here for a minute.
Okay, crazy guy. And speaking of crazy, if you have made it with us this far, you might be crazy as well. We do appreciate it, though. Consider giving the video a like. He is going to show you where. And while that animation is going on that he can't see right now, subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on, we will continue to discuss. Now, we're probably not going to break down every single episode. We may, but if anything has shown us in the analytics, you guys don't like when we just break down the shows and not actually do reactions to it. So we'll probably just kind of, we may, sum up a few episodes here and there and all of that. We'll see how it goes. But if you're not subscribed and you don't have the little bell clicked, you won't get notified about that. So we got plenty of more of not only this content and everything going on in the Elseworlds timeline of DC, but all of the information coming out about the DCU, as well as what is happening in the MCU. So be subscribed, have the bells clicked. We do you guys the favor, if you're still watching, of not doing this and bombarding you with a 5-minute intro about going over to our Patreon that doesn't exist and getting merch and all this other stuff. So if we do that for you, that's a little transactional. At least you can do for us is subscribe and like it if you did. So we definitely appreciate it.
Doesn't cost anything.
So. Exactly. No. Just your soul. No. Just kidding. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it for us here on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, we will see you then.
Later.